Hi everybody, congratulations for making it out here, slipping and sliding. Really, really pleased to present tonight what I've heard this program before, and you're going to learn a lot, I believe. Alex Bloye, he's the director of our Aviation department at Northwestern Michigan College. He's been here for 6 years now, 3 years as a flight instructor, and then 3 more years as director of the department. He's only the 4th department head we've had in 50 years, and one of them was the guy that started it.
We, at NMC, we train pilots. That's what we've done for 50 years, now in our 51st year. And we do that both in manned and traditional pilot studies and in unmanned. And I want to talk to you about our history, how we got to where we are today, and then answer questions about where we're going. And, it's an exciting time to be in aviation. Never before have we seen this type of hiring and this type of demand for pilots. The pay for our graduates has tripled in the past 3 years, which is just phenomenal. We are recruiting now students for spring 2020 into our program, and so we are seeing demand unlike any other time in our history. But I do want to take you through our history a bit, and then I'll answer any questions you have. And thank you again, Ann. I appreciate it and your invitation, and I appreciate you all braving this blizzard and making it out here tonight.
We're lucky to have you.
We're a tough group. Right. Yeah. So NMC Aviation. This is an important piece to us. Placing focus on the individual rather than the mass, NMC Aviation empowers the student to follow their personal dream of flight by fostering relationships with airlines, charter companies, international institutions, and private corporations. We encourage students to find their passion and then guide them in the direction through our network of alumni and supporters. From bush pilot to airline captain to the U.S. military, NMC pilots are literally flying all over the world, friends flying all over the world right now. Anywhere from all up and down the west coast of Michigan to Alaska to Dubai, China, the UK, they're everywhere. And we are really, really proud of our alumni group and all that they do for the industry. So NMC Aviation, like Ann mentioned, is really 4 generations and four pieces of history. 4 different leaders. Art Monkhouse started the program, and I'll get into that a little bit. Art was really a beloved member of the community, and one of the founding fathers of NMC. He was actually the campus engineer. He was a pilot recreationally, really, just by interest. But he was the campus engineer, and he founded our program just on a couple airplanes and a small box hangar. Bob Baldwin, who I'm sure many of you know, led our industry in our program for about 33 years. Aaron Cook was the redesigner, and then this guy, me. So 1967 is when we were founded. That was when the first class happened. Lyndon B. Johnson was named Time Magazine's Man of the Year. You'll find some of these interesting. Doritos was introduced. Were introduced to the U.S. 1967. Pink Floyd was recording their first studio album, and the first handheld calculator was invented when we started our flight program. Art Monkhouse, a college engineer, he was a former P-38 pilot, World War II. Like I said, he was a pilot in the war, but when he was at NMC, he was not. He just had a strong passion for it. Hogan Helms was his partner and the proprietor of a local flying service. So Hogan had a school out here. He rented aircraft to locals, and they teamed up to co-pilot this small program. It started in the West Tees. So if anybody knows about the airport, the West Side Tees over by Garfield are the oldest T hangars on the airfield, and that's where we started. And if anyone knows what a T hangar is, it's about the size of your garage. And so we had a garage that we started our program in. If you could just imagine that and remember that as I go through this. And we started with 1 and then moved on to 2 hangars. And that first year, Bob Baldwin, our future director, signed up for classes. Enrollment tripled right away in the first 18 months. Demand was crazy for pilots. It was just a time in aviation history when people were actually comfortable and wanted to fly in airplanes. And it was a time that I wish I had experienced when people would dress up to go fly in an airplane, and they, you know, it was a big to-do. And the pilots would dress up and they would shake everyone's hand, and I wasn't born yet. This is what I read in books. But it was a really exciting time, and the country, the world, the industry needed trained pilots, and that's where we started coming in. We purchased a state-of-the-art link trainer. Now, if anybody knows what a link trainer is, it's about the size of this table, and the pilot climbs into it, and it has a couple hydraulics on it, and you just move the thing around, and you pretend like you're flying. And that was the newest, latest, and greatest of all aviation trainers of the day. And we were able to get that link trainer and then house it in the cherry growers production plant, the old cherry growers production plant in downtown Traverse City. A quote from Art Monkhouse, I wish I had met him. The foresightedness of NMC board chairman Les Biederman is a major contributing factor to the quick rise of the program. It was, as I researched and learned about the program, one of the things that was really critical to our success was actually the support of the board and the ability to just go to the board and ask and receive and innovate and test new ideas. And our board, I have to say, has carried that tradition on all the way through today, which is fantastic. And there we go. This is actually one of our, I'll send this all to you so you can check out some of these documents. This is housed in Nan's office now, but this is one of our first air agency surveys, and it says NMC 1967, 2 aircraft, 1 hangar, program started. Pretty cool. That was in a drawer in Bob Buttleman's office when I took over, and it was just sitting there, so it's now protected by him. That's a link trainer, the state-of-the-art NMC trainer. And from what I'm told and what I read in the Record Eagle, one of the very first at an academic institution. So even from the beginning, NMC was thinking ahead and really priding themselves on new technology. So those all sit in museums now. Here's our hangar and some students mowing the lawn. They don't do that anymore. And the 2 original aircraft, Cessna 150s, and our old hangars back there. And those hangars still stand. They're great aircraft hangars, but they are meant to hold 1 airplane each. And that was the scope of our program. And we grew out of that very, very quickly. Skip ahead a little bit. 1974, Jim Croce, one of my dad's favorites. Time in a Bottle, Billboard #1. The Post-it was invented in 1974. And the first tourist hotels were built in Cancun. And we were growing quickly as a program. And NMC named Bob Buttleman a 27-year-old director of the program, which is very, very young for us. NMC in the 70s. So former student airline captain Bob Buttleman returned in 1974 to direct the program. He was joined by 2 very beloved flight instructors, Don Rodriguez and Dave Loveland. Dave Loveland is still around, and his family now has 3 generations of pilots who have been through our program. Himself, his daughter, and his granddaughter. And they were at our gala last fall to celebrate our 50th. Big point of pride for us. Together, they quickly made great strides in growing the program and building the fleet and taking that to the next step. The board meeting that changed it all. So Les Biederman was still around, and in 1976, Bob invited Les and the NMC trustees out to the T hangars, and I love this story. And really suits what Bob is and who he is. And so what he did is he was trying to prove to the board at the time that we needed a new hangar. We needed a state-of-the-art facility. We needed to expand this program. And so he invited the parents, his neighbors, anyone that he could get, anyone who was breathing and alive, Bob invited out to the hangar to pretend like they were students. And they were jammed into these hangars. And they pretended as if that was a normal flight day. They were out for lessons, and they were just overflowing with people. And he, just happened to invite the board that day. And the board came out with less, and they saw these people and how much they cared about the program. And that was the day that they signed off on building our new Aero Park campus. So we built, starting in 1977, we started building our hangar that we actually use right now. It was a great time of academic achievement. We received our designation from the FAA to give us self-examining authority. We are the only school in the state today that has self-examining authority. That means I actually work for the FAA and issue FAA certificates to students without any further testing from anyone else. And again, one of the only schools around that has that, and we've had that continuously because of our standard of operations since 1976. I really can't find another school that's done that, and so we're pretty proud of that one. And that is the letter, you can't read it, but I'll send it to you. That is the letter congratulating us on our self-examining authority, 1977. 1988, the Cosbys. #1 show on air. Table tennis and ping pong became an Olympic sport. Doppler radar was invented in 1988. And the aviation program hit an all-time high, and we got a new toy. This is the new state-of-the-art 1991 Frasca 242. And that was our brochure that we sent out to students, and that was Tom Selleck apparently was our guy. And we were up to, at that point, from what I can tell, 80s or 90s, we peaked out at 200 students and 20 aircraft. Bob had grown this thing into a juggernaut of a program. There was a lot of horsepower behind it, a ton of interest, and it just kept growing. We were really jamming into these facilities. And still, if you know Parsons Stewart and our Aero Park campus, our green hangar is still out there, and that's where we house our aircraft. And our classes and our offices and everything are in Parsons Stewart, the building next door. The Frasca 242 was again the state of the art. That was the newest and latest and greatest in aviation simulation. That Frasca actually sits in Shar-M ISD's program. We gave it to them on personal, permanent loan to have their students play with it and get interested in flying and just using the controls. And so it sits up at the Pellston Airport. Actually, it's still up there and moving around. That was the press release from our PR department on the new Frasca. 1998. Tragedy strikes our small community. I already talked to a couple of you who knew Don Rodriguez, and I met him briefly as a kid, but didn't know him very well. This is a story that I can't really go into. I'm not an expert on, but Don, during an air show, 1998, Don and Bob were going to take rides in these fighters. There were 2 fighter jets, and they each picked a plane, and they were going to go for a ride. Don's plane never returned. It's turned into a folklore story, still unsolved and unfound. But more importantly, Don was an amazing member of our community, an amazing teacher, inspiring to. Everyone I've met that has flown with Don says he was just the best teacher, and so we miss him dearly. And that was a tough one. And Bob still holds a very special place in his heart for Don. So, okay. Brighter side. Going into 2000, I joined the program as a student. The Spartans were the NCAA basketball champs. Go Green. Well, it's a good year. That was a good year. GW was Times Man of the Year, which is great. Blockbuster Video declined an offer to buy Netflix. I'm sure they regret that. And Aaron and Alex, the future directors of the program, signed up for classes. And that's when Aaron and I actually met, was at NMC as students. Also in 2000, we built this beauty. Again, with an amazing support board and community, we built Parsons Stewart, which is now the central hub of all technology and engineering programs, all tech programs at NMC. So Our robotics programs, underwater ROV, unmanned systems, and aviation are all housed at Parsons Stewart, which is just, we're really, really proud to have that. That is a world-class facility for a small community college, and really a point of pride for our students. 2006, Bob Baldwin finally retires after 33 years and an amazing legacy and saga at the aviation department. And Bob is still around. He is one of my advisors, and he does check rides for a lot of our students. He's still an FAA examiner, and I see him almost every day at the airport. He just can't let it go. But he's amazing. And we took a chance, NMC took a chance, on another 27-year-old director, Aaron Cook. So Aaron and I were friends almost to the day when Aaron was named flight director here at NMC. I was named director at Eastern. And I remember calling Aaron and I say, hey, buddy, congratulations. Do you have a clue what you're doing? And he said, no, we better stick together on this one. And so we had two very, very young directors, but I remember learning that we were not the youngest ever. Bob was actually the first and the youngest. And I think he's pretty proud of that fact. So 2006 to 2015, Aaron's task, Aaron was charged with reinventing our program and yet again bringing it back into modern times. So the thing is about aviation is a constant reinvention of technology and rules and regulations and demands from the industry, and it takes that reinvention every 10 years or so. And so he was tasked with the modernization of our fleet. He redesigned the entire program, and he brought in international programs and our drone program in 2009. And he also attracted a world-class group of pilots and professionals. Today we have 2 generals that work for me there as flight instructors, 3 lieutenant colonels, retired Fortune 500 CEO pilots, and these are pilots that have retired into Traverse City, want to give back, and now are flying with our students. Some of the best pilots in the world literally are housed right here at NMC. Brian Bishop, for example, he's the retired general. Everyone knows who Brian Bishop is in town. He was the lead Thunderbird. He works for us sometimes over the summers and works with our students on aerobatic courses. And then Scott Dennis, also a general and very highly decorated fighter pilot, does aerobatic and seaplane work with our students over the summer. So they're great mentors, and we are lucky to have such amazing talent that we've attracted. So this is us today. Like I said, we have an international program. We have partnerships with 5 aeronautical engineering programs in the UK, world-class programs that wanted to team up with NMC to have their students go through a flight experience. The theory there is that an aeronautical engineer without some sort of flight experience is sort of like a chef who's never tasted food. And so they join us every summer for a flight experience, and then a lot of them fall in love with flying, fall in love with Traverse City, and want to stay and then become professional pilots. Our unmanned systems program ranked top 10 in the country. We're proud to say we are the unmanned systems, one of the unmanned systems providers for Michigan State University, as well as people like police departments and energy companies and numerous programs at NMC. So our drone program is really an academic service provider rather than a degree in drone from NMC, which is sort of like a degree in tractor. We are making that a value-added piece to numerous degree tracks: construction management, agriculture, turfgrass management, those sorts of things. And then a nod to the R. So when Aaron was here and I was making my way in, we acquired a 1953 Piper Cub. Has anyone seen our yellow airplane flying around and my flight instructor swimming off the bow? Yeah. During the summer when I'm driving to meetings on main campus and I see that plane playing around in the bays, I have nothing but jealousy for those pilots. But so we restored this. This showed up in boxes. It was in boxes.